Hey, first graders, it's so great to see you again. Today we have an awesome in our poetry unit, so let's get started. Hello, boys and girls. Today we are going to take a look in our poetry unit, Investigating Inspiration. Poets are inspired by the beauty around them, their emotions, people, and day-to-day events. When we read, we get the poem by relating about the big that the poet is sharing. Everything that we know is called our personal schema. We activate our schema when we put our own experiences into the poetry. Everyone's schema is a little bit different because we all have different experiences. Sometimes the word schema will also refer back to our background knowledge or our experiences. So we've understood things that have happened in our lives and we can connect it to what we are reading. We can use our schema to make predictions, or it can explain why or how a character feels a certain way. So we use our personal experiences when reading so that we can connect with the story or the text a little bit more. When we read poetry, it's important to activate our own schema to help us understand the poet's big idea, okay, or the main idea, or the point for writing the poem. Let's take a look at our own schema and see how it affects how we read. So, the word summer. Think about all the things you know about summer. When you hear the word summer, what comes to mind? You can pause this video for a second to think and say some words aloud that you think of when you hear summer. What are some words that come to mind? Some words that come to mind for me are beach, it's hot outside, it stays lighter later at night, swimming, a sprinkler, watermelon, camps, barbecues, the ice cream man, flip-flops, bathing suits, playdates. Were there other ideas or thoughts that came to mind that are not on this list? Remember, it's our own personal schema. So we might have things that we relate to summer or that we love about this season that maybe someone else didn't write down here, or that you always do with your family. So we can add more words to these lists. The possibilities are endless here. So, we all have many experiences about summer to activate our schema. So, now think about all the things you know about Knoxville, Tennessee. So, we are going to read a poem today in regards to this location. Now, you may have heard of this place before, or you may not. But think about what you know about Knoxville, Tennessee. Take a second, and you can pause this video if you need a little bit more time. So, this is much harder because we don't have many experiences with Knoxville, Tennessee, unless we have visited it. So, I have been to Nashville, Tennessee, but I've never been to Knoxville. So I'm not quite sure. I'm thinking about my personal experience there. Let's activate our schema to learn about Knoxville, Tennessee. So here we have the poem Knoxville, Tennessee. We are going to read it together, and it was written by Nikki Giovanni. As you read, think about ways to activate what your schema. Think of things you already know and have experienced. So let's take a look at this poem. I always like summer best. You can eat fresh corn from Daddy's garden, and okra, and greens, and cabbage, and lots of barbecue, and buttermilk, and homemade ice cream at the church picnic, and listen to gospel music outside at the church homecoming, and you go to the mountains with your grandmother and go barefooted and be warm all the time, not only when you go to bed and asleep. So, thinking about this title, Knoxville, Tennessee, of this poem, what things could you connect to? What schema? When they said summer, I like summer best, I started thinking of all the reasons why I like summer best. I love that they mentioned corn and barbecues and ice cream. It just started making me think of my own experiences. I don't know about you, but that made me think of my childhood and past summers. So, now, what do you know about Knoxville, Tennessee? So let's think about what we learned from that poem. Let's take a second to think back. So, in the poem, they mentioned fresh corn, gardens, okra, greens, and cabbage, barbecue, buttermilk, homemade ice cream, music outside, church picnics, mountains, barefoot, warm all the time. So you might see that there are some similarities in things that we wrote down on the summer side and some similar ideas in the Knoxville, Tennessee side. We know a lot about summer, so it was easy to activate our schema and learn about Knoxville. So, when we take a look back at this, I'm going to reread this line. I always like summer best. You can eat fresh corn from Daddy's garden. So, this line I thought was really important to me because it was a personal connection. I always had a garden growing up, so I connected to Nikki's poem on this line. Thinking about your own summer experiences, what personal connections can you make to this poem? You can pause and you can use the sentence stem. My connection to this poem is. So now you try. Let's read a poem called Vacation by Mary Ann Haberman. As you read, think about ways to activate what your schema. Think of things you already know and have experienced about vacation. Then make connections to what Marianne wrote in the poem. So when you hear the word vacation, what comes to mind? Just like when we activated our thoughts on summer, when you hear the word vacation, what do you think of? Do you think of certain places, certain activities, feelings, who you're with, what you do? All of those things should start to come to mind right now. All right, let's take a second and let's take a look at the title and let's get ready to read this second poem. Vacation. In my head, I hear a humming. Summer, summer, summer's coming. Soon, we're going on vacation. But there is a complication. Day by day, the problem's growing. We don't know yet where we're going. Mother likes the country best. That's so she can read and rest. Dad thinks resting is a bore. He's for fishing at the shore. Sailing is my brother's pick. Sailing makes my sister sick. She says swimming's much more cool. Swimming in a swimming pool. As for me, why, I don't care. I'd be happy anywhere. In my head, I hear a humming. Summer, summer, summer's coming. Soon we're going on vacation. But we have a complication. Day by day, the problem's growing. Where, oh, where will we be going? What a great poem this was. I loved the rhyming in it. I loved all the different family members that were involved because I know in my family we each like to do different things. But I love how he was saying, I'd be happy anywhere. Wow. So I want you to take a second and think about your connection to that poem. What was your schema that was activated? What things did you think of as you were reading? So, as a reader, it's important for readers of poetry to activate their schema and make personal connections to the poetry they read. Poets want you to connect to their writing through your own experiences. While reading poetry, you can be an active participant. So, ways that we can be an active participant is asking ourselves the following questions. 1. How can I activate my schema to better understand the poet's message? 2. What connections in my own life can I make? And 3. Can I say, I did that, or I knew that, or I get it? So, boys and girls, as we are reading these poems, it's important to think about our own personal experiences, what we know, what we like, what we can think of, and it allows us to better understand this story a little more. I know based off of that vacation poem, I know that I like the beach, where my sister likes the pool, and when we were figuring out as a family where to go, my parents were just happy being all together. When they were talking about the shore, I thought about being down at the Jersey Shore when I was little and going swimming in the ocean. So there's many different ways in which you connect to a poem. It doesn't have to be explicitly what is said in the text. It can be kind of spinned to your own experience. So remember, boys and girls, it's important that we make those personal connections when we read a poem. Awesome job today, boys and girls. Remember, activate schema, our personal experiences, what we know, can help us reading poems. So keep up the hard work. We miss you so much. Today.